Welcome, everybody. It's Scott here from Woke Societies, here to drop another episode of amazing content. Today is a very special episode. We have Douglas Belmore from the Qniversity, and we're going to be talking about his story, how he got red-pilled, his views on QAnon, why he started this amazing YouTube channel that he started, and pretty much his views on the school systems and the whole, and whatever else we want to get into. So today is going to be a good day, and I just want to get more exposure, more eyes on this gentleman's YouTube channel and what he's doing, because I think it's very special, and his product that he offers is very clean. I've watched some of his videos, and I must say the intro to your first video, it gave me the chills. Let's just put it that way. So that was really awesome. So you guys know.
Do you recognize the format of the intro? Does it look like somebody made it?
Not that I could think of, but it was still really good.
It looks a lot to me like maybe the plan to save the world.
Oh, Mr. JoeM. Yeah, I did get that vibe a little bit. But hey, man, it works. I love it. And
well, I'm just not going to take credit for it. I want to thank JoeM for doing that for me.
Oh,
it was he.
No problem. Yeah, no, it came out great. It looks fantastic.
I think so too. Yeah.
So we got Miss Doug. Do you rather go by Douglas, Doug?
I think Doug sounds great, Scott.
Doug's fine. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, guys, I got Doug here, and we're just gonna talk about some topics, and we're just gonna have a conversation today. So you guys know where to go to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you guys know all the podcasting platforms, the BitChute, all my backup channels, because YouTube loves to censor this content. So God forbid any of this ever gets taken down. You guys know where to go for that. So, all right. Mr. Belmore, so what I really want to start is, where did you first find out, when did you first get red pill? That's what I really want to start this out as.
Well, I want to say there was one central epiphany. I know that when George Herbert Walker Bush had his funeral, December 5th of 2018, I was very blue. Watching the flags at half-staff all over the country through the month of December, through Christmas season, I was blue because I know, as you know, that he was a devil.
Right.
And it just disturbed me. I couldn't get off the internet. Everybody on the internet was saying he was a scoundrel. Nobody said anything good about him outside of the mainstream media. I want to say that was the day that I got red-pilled, but no, I think it was probably 10 years before that when I first found out about MK Ultra, and I was teaching at Pima College in Tucson when the Gabrielle Giffords event happened in 2011, and I'm absolutely positive it was a false flag. And if you'll recall, the shooter, Jared Loeffner, was supposed to be a Pima College student. I think he was a fabrication.
Right.
So when you go to work and you find out that people you work with are lying to the media and acting like frightened mice, I think that was really my red pill. And I don't know, it's a very small world, you know.
Yeah.
I read Kathy O'Brien's book, Transformation of America, about that time, and I read Bryce Taylor's Thanks for the Memories, other MK Ultra stories, and it's a really small world because Kathy O'Brien was associated with Roseanne Barr back then, and I just noticed that Roseanne Barr subscribed to my YouTube channel this morning.
Oh, that's awesome. See, man.
Isn't that a beautiful small world?
You're getting, man, it is small, but this movement is growing faster and faster by the day.
Yes.
And that's pretty awesome. You got Roseanne Barr following you, and she's...
Well, she's a hero, isn't she? Because she and Kathy O'Brien were really stepping up 10 years ago, and it was dangerous to do so then. Well, Roseanne didn't work after that, did she?
No, she didn't, and for very good reason. They silenced her because they knew she was getting to the truth, and look what happened. This is what happens, and that's what kind of leads me into what happened to you at your school. Now, I watched your first video, and you've taught around the world, I believe, right? You taught in multiple states and South Korea, right?
Yes, I've taught throughout the southwestern U.S. I've taught at over 20 colleges and universities because I've been an adjunct for 30 years, and adjuncts they do the bulk of the teaching in higher education, and they're treated like dirt, and they're paid nothing. They have no job security.
Right.
And the only people who get the tenured full-time jobs, well, I shouldn't say only, I should say most of the people are just useful idiots. You know, they're deep state tools. If you say, I'm not kidding, you go to a job interview to teach English and somebody asks you how you feel about open borders. What the hell does that have to do with teaching English?
Amazing. Wow. This is why I wanted to talk to you, but we'll get into that stuff a little bit later because my mother was a teacher.
I think that's true in most fields, isn't it? I think if
Yes.
you looked into most professions, the people that are going to get the gravy jobs they have to be useful to the deep state.
Correct, and you have to line up with their narrative, and if you don't, you're probably not going to get the job, especially nowadays.
Yeah. I think the most disappointing interview I had, I moved to Arizona in 2008. I'm from California, and in 2007, when the financial crisis was hitting, it was a miserable year for me. I didn't work that year in California, and I interviewed all up and down the state for really gravy tenure-track positions. And the last one I went to was near the border, and I was a finalist for this beautiful full-time professor's job, and the first question asked was, how do you feel about the new English? And I cringed, and I said, please, don't go there. And the chair of the English department told me that spelling doesn't matter.
Oh, my goodness.
And when I objected, the interview was over. So
that was it. You knew right then and there you weren't getting the job.
Yeah, and you know, what's it really all about? It's about, God, how do I say it delicately? I want to say it's about the replacement of American citizens, that everything I've seen colleges do is designed to promote the replacement and displacement of American patriots.
Right.
I really think it's all about open borders and getting rid of America.
Right. Exactly. No, and I have to agree, because I graduated high school in 2008, and we didn't see as much of the infiltration, at least I didn't, and I'm from New York, so we got a lot of libtards out here, as you probably already know, just like you had in California.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just as bad over here as probably as it is in California. I didn't really see too much infiltration of the socialist agenda in the schools that I know of, but I know as I moved on and graduated, my mother was a teacher for middle school, and the things she was seeing with Common Core, and just she could see it coming from a mile away, and it was a big reason why she left. She put her entire soul and heart into becoming a teacher her whole life, and then she quit because she saw what was coming, and she just could not stay in it and be part of something that she believed that was turning completely evil, and it was pretty much brainwashing kids' minds at such a young age.
Yeah, it's all about brainwashing. What happened to the 3 R's? All day long on Twitter, I'm seeing parents talking about education and lamenting the fact that they're not teaching, they're just indoctrinating, and from a really early age.
Correct.
The drag queens in preschool, it's getting to be a bit much.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I tweeted a video. You probably saw it. There was a little girl sitting in the chair with a bunch of adults.
Oh yeah, with that slithering snake-like creature.
Yes, giving pretty much a lap dance to this child, and the adults in the room are cheering it on, and the girl is mortified.
Wouldn't it be glorious if somebody just, I don't want to call for violence, but is there a point where a dad gets to punch somebody in the nose?
Right, just to get, and I'm a father. I told you before, I have a 2-year-old, and having a child and seeing something like that, it made me infuriated, because if that was my child, I wouldn't be, the last thing I would be is calm. It would not be nice, but these are the things that I'm seeing, and I just watched another YouTube channel, and they were talking about they were teaching kids that the only way to do something good is if they're getting something in return.
Wow.
And this was I can't remember what region or what school district this teacher was from, but he was also fired for bringing this up to superintendents, and they did not want to hear about any of it. It was like you said, it's part of this indoctrination, and he said it's pretty much...
don't do anything that's selfless, don't do anything that's just entirely for another person.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's not very Christian, is it?
Right, exactly. That is true. That is true. But that's what he was trying to get this out, and it
I
made
would teach the exact opposite to children. I would teach them that selflessness is, self-denial is a beautiful thing.
right. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm seeing this, and me having a 2-year-old. It made me a little worried, especially being out here in New York. I'm trying to get out of New York. I'm hopefully going to be in Pennsylvania within the next year and a half. And it just makes I was against homeschool growing up my whole life because I got the public school experience, and now I do not want my son in anywhere near a public school at all.
It's sad, isn't it?
It's very sad, but at the time, you probably know, Doug. You've been following Q. You know that our history, this history that's taught in our schools, a lot of it's not correct. It's not the correct history. And
No, I disagree with most of what's being taught. If the bottom line is kids need to know the 3 R's, don't they? If we're not teaching children in the primary grades to master reading, writing, and arithmetic, we're really ripping them off.
right, and I feel like that's kind of going to the wayside with how government-run school systems are going.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, though. I just, because I believe in Q and I believe in the plan and I believe that a D5 avalanche is coming and it won't be stopped. Nothing will stop what is coming. Nothing,
Nope.
wrote Q. And so these liberals, the libtards, as you say, I'm concerned about them. I think a lot of them will crack up. They're just so committed to the left and to hating Trump that they may not come on board with us, and I wonder how badly they'll crack up. I'm concerned for them, but
Yep.
they made their own choice.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like some of them will not. Some of them won't be saved. Some are going to be left behind because they're like you said, their hatred is so deep. It does not matter. Like I saw one of these I don't know if it was the New York Times or the Washington Post. They wanted, it was an op-ed. They wanted to name this coronavirus the Trump virus.
Oh my God!
And it's like this is what people are writing in these supposed how these mainstream outlets are promoted that as this is the news. This is the best news. And we all know from being around Q that it's the complete opposite. It's like you said, Project Mockingbird. They get their articles, and it's a brainwash fest.
Just a brainwash fest. That's all the schools are too. Then
Right. All this is connected, and that's why I just want when I found it's funny because I was red pilled probably about almost 2 years ago from now, and I always thought 9/11 was there was something more behind 9/11. I was in middle school when 9/11 happened, and the whole thing just stunk to me. And
oh, really? Even when you were in middle school?
even when I was in middle school, I always believed there was so much more to be told about that because I remember we had such great patriotism in the 90s from when I remember that our country's the strongest, the biggest, and I'm like, how could something this massive slip behind her just happen and it wasn't prevented or nobody knew about it? The whole thing felt fishy to me. I didn't really dive into politics at all. I didn't want to touch politics, and then I came across YouTube channels, and then I found out about Q. I hated Trump, but I couldn't vote for Hillary. I was slipping the Kool-Aid, Doug. I was sipping on that mainstream Kool-Aid, and then it hit me like a bomb, and I realized what was going on.
What was your epiphany? What hit you like a bomb?
What started it was I noticed the mainstream media's attacks on Trump were coming from literally every single main outlet. And
Everyone.
I thought that was weird because I watched the Trump show, his game show that he did. And from what I saw in the years prior, there was no slandering of him. Everybody seemed to love this man. Obviously, he's not perfect. Nobody is. He's got his faults. But the things that the media was constantly bombarding with the Russia narrative, and I was like, you know what? Let me just take an objective look at all this and see what is this really all about? Is any of this really true? Because you have all these people screaming the same thing. And then when I actually looked into it, that's when I had my epiphany. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all set up. This is a huge. They're trying to get rid of a sitting president that's obviously supposed to be there, but there are other players, other entities behind the scenes that we don't know about that are trying to take him out. And that's that's when I stumbled upon Q, and I went through all the Q drops, and that was it, man. I was like, that's when I started my channel. I started my channel a year and a half ago now.
Wow.
And here we are. So, and
yeah, the first time you find Q, it's quite a revelation.
It really is. And have you seen the Matrix movies?
Oh yeah.
It literally feels like you're unplugged. And the way you think and view the world from there on out, you're never the same. It's weird, but it's also
liberating. It's the way
yes.
we're supposed to be. I keep thinking of Christians. Most Christians, I think, are really worldly, and that they will bow to what the New York Times says or what their school says. And
Right.
I don't think that's godly at all. I think Jesus Christ wanted us to be free.
Absolutely.
He told us to speak to our mountain. He didn't say go run to the state and ask them to help you. He said you speak to the mountain and take care of it. And
right.
what infuriates me most about the deep state is the Matrix is the best analogy. We're just sleeping slaves, and we have to wake up and get out of the cave and walk out into the sunlight and see real light and not artificial light.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because when I first started doing my channel, you were actually part of one of my earliest videos, because you made mainstream headlines. You were in the Daily Beast. And I remember JoeM, I think he was the first person that he threw out the links for about you. And there was a bunch of us that were on your side, and we were really happy that a teacher would have the cojones to show his students QAnon, the Trust the Plan video that JoeM made. Because that's usually when people ask me about Q, or they have no idea about Q, I usually direct them to that video first.
Yes, the plan to save the world, right?
Right.
14-minute videos.
Right. I think
so
that's
comprehensive.
Exactly. It's a perfect video just to get people's feet wet, to kind of get a sense of what Q is. But I remember JoeM talking about you and your story, and then I was like, man, I got to do a video about this guy. Like, this is awesome. And it was you weren't fired yet, but the hit pieces that were coming out
they came out immediately. It was pretty shocking.
It was, yes. And I'm like, this guy, he's just a college professor just trying to teach his truth. And it was the same thing.
And I wasn't even harping on it. I showed the video and dropped it. They were the ones that onto the issue. I was going to go on and just teach grammar and logical thinking, but I'm shocked it's 2020 now, and I'm really shocked that there aren't more of us, in all fields. That it's heartbreaking, because I believe in humanity. I think you believe in humanity, and
absolutely.
To see everybody enslaved when all they have to do is get up and walk out into the sunlight, get out of that dark cave. And it's sad. It's really sad. I would hope by now, I showed the video because I thought by the end of 2019, surely everybody's going to be on board.
Yep.
I wonder what it will take. I know there's going to be a great mass awakening, but I wonder what will be the trigger. I guess when the trials start, right? I mean, when
I would probably say, because the Q post about the first arrest is going to shock the world.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the beginning. Not for the followers that have known about this for years, but I call them normies, the ones that have no idea about any of this stuff. They just want to live in the Matrix, and because then once that person's arrested, there's going to be questions that have to be answered, and that's where things are going to get sketchy. But yeah, it's amazing, because even in my work environment, you talk about Trump or any of this stuff, you feel like you shouldn't be talking about it. It's like this stigma, it's this energy.
And if we know what President Trump has done for our nation, we know what he's done for the world and what he's done for the children of the world. How heartbreaking that he can't be celebrated, that he's still pummeled, and demons are celebrated and lifted up.
Absolutely, and he's taking all the slings and arrows just like he said he would. He's doing it, and he's doing it for free. So I mean, this is why when I heard about your story, there's thousands of us out there, and I just felt like, man, I need to start a channel. I think this is the best time to start a YouTube channel, and that's why I wanted to bring you on so you could talk about yours a little bit. And I know you got some help from JoeM, but you can tell, Doug, you're a teacher. You speak well. You're well informed. You don't seem scared to be on camera. You're very comfortable, and that's why again I wanted to bring you on here just to have more people look at your
Well,
content.
if I can humbly add, I really feel like I'm the last person in the world who would be considered an authority on Q. I'm not. I'm just an enthusiastic participant. I'll just be another face, another voice. But I'm in awe of some of the Q scholars out there and what they come up with every day, right?
It's amazing.
And I think, wow, I never would have imagined that. And
Yep. But the thing is, we're all here with good intentions. That's the thing for me. Like I blew up in 8 months. I had got 20,000 subscribers. I wanted to have 1,000 subscribers by the end of December. I got queued at the end of December, which was I almost was in tears. It was December 23rd. It was 3740. Q tagged one of my tweets.
3740 is the Q drop.
Yes, 3740. It's about Admiral Rogers. And Q posted something big is coming. Something big is coming. I was hanging out with my son on my couch, and I was almost in tears because I was somebody a year ago that had no idea about any of this. I didn't want any part of this, and then I had my epiphany, and that was really it. And somebody like you said, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm no authority. I got into this a year and a half ago. I felt in my soul it was something I needed to do to get the word out, and you did exactly the same thing. And our collective voices is what's, I think, going to really help wake the people up.
It is. It's the collective voice. It's we, the people. Yeah, not one person. It's all of us together. And then the numbers rising and the numbers getting louder and more vocal.
Exactly.
Once the young people get on board, I'm really excited to see the teens and the 20-somethings get on board.
Yeah, and that's something I'm trying to change with my channel, looking at my analytics. Most of the people that listen to my channel are 25 and older. And I'm trying to figure out ways to connect with the younger people because I feel like they more than anybody now are being targeted with the propaganda and they're being brainwashed.
Oh yeah, I think they've been totally victimized. I do feel great compassion for the young people.
Absolutely, and it's hard for me because when people rip the young people, it's hard for me to get on that side of they're young kids, they don't know what they're doing, but it's like you don't know the amount of propaganda that has been fed to them.
We could say they've been traumatized. I mean, Mockingbird and MK Ultra have been perfected. These people really know what they're doing, and they come at kids from day one.
Right, and you're the perfect person to see that. And you're in these schools. I mean, did you just teach college, or were you multiple?
I have taught K through 12.
Okay.
When I came out to Arizona in 2008, there was a big, there was the housing crisis, and I got hired. Oh yeah, how about that? I got hired by Pima College in Tucson. You want to hear this story? The woman interviewed me for more than 3 hours. I've never had such a long interview. And on her desk was a photo of her son standing next to Henry Kissinger. And I couldn't stop looking at that thing. She said he was a lobbyist in Washington. I think Henry Kissinger is the scum of the earth,
Yeah.
He's a devil.
Yep.
And anyway, she hired me, and when I got home, it was the next day, she called me after giving me a really gravy schedule. And she said, well, I can't hire you. And I said, why not? And she goes, well, you're from California,
What?
And I go, what the heck does that mean? And then this was a tiny little satellite campus of Pima College in Tucson, and it was the tiny little campus that Jared Loughner attended, the shooter.
Wow.
And I think she didn't hire me because she knew darn well if I was on campus and that happened, I would have spoken up.
Right, and she probably didn't even want to open that door, right?
Yeah, so I think it was a little deep state interview. Let's ask them a bunch. I wish I would have remembered the questions so I knew what they were up to. But anyway, same thing happened with the University of Arizona out there. Just got dropped the last minute. So I ended up teaching kids for the first time in my life, and it was a real revelation. I taught at a charter school where my boss wanted to teach kids college material. And,
okay.
His first graduating seniors went on to Ivy Leagues and Stanford and MIT. It paid off. I'm grateful that I had that experience because I raised the bar after I left there. when I taught college students, I said, well, if this sixth graders can do this, you can do this, darn it. And
right.
I really raised the bar, and I don't know. I think most of the people that I've worked with and the people that I get promoted they don't have degrees in the field. They usually have degrees in education, which is, I think, a very flighty major, and I don't think they know what they're doing, but I think they're all deep state tools. And I haven't liked most of the people that I've worked with in the last decade or so.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too. When all these hit pieces were coming out on you, because like you already know, it just flooded. And when you make the Daily Beast, I want to say I would wear it as a badge of honor.
The New York Times called several times, the Washington Post, the Daily Mail wrote about me, the Hill, the Chronicle of Higher Education. I was really shocked that
I didn't even see those. I just saw the Daily Beast one. So you
got
the
biggest. The New York Times down a couple times.
Wow.
I knew they were going to lie about me anyway.
Well, that's the thing. I've seen they've interviewed Jordan Sather a bunch of times. You can literally write down word for word what you said, but when they actually put it in print, they smear you. They backhand smear you.
The first article that was written about me was already written. I taught one class, showed the JoeM video. At the next class meeting, at the end of the class meeting, a reporter busted in from the Phoenix New Times into my classroom during class hours, which is illegal, and chased my students out, and he kept hounding me, why are you talking about Q? Why are you talking about Q? So I went to the campus police. They did nothing. Nobody. The state of Arizona wouldn't help me with unemployment issues. Nobody in the state will help you, which I don't care about. The state is Egypt to me, and I don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about Arizona. I just did a video about...
Oh, no, any state, though. I mean,
yeah.
It's just, you know what I'm getting at? That you mentioned the communist thing, it just seeps into all state institutions.
Yep. But this is how it's been set up for a while, though. This is what the deep state wanted. And now I believe a lot of us are becoming aware of it all at the same time.
Well, sure. I pray that the masses do, too. So many parents sending their kids off to school and trusting what's being taught. What did I see? Was it in England? They were showing sixth graders, so that was like first grade or something, and the teacher said, you have to write a love letter to Thomas. It was a homosexual marriage proposal the kids had to write.
Oh my gosh!
You're a boy, and you're going to ask Thomas to marry you, and yep. I don't understand how that's helping sixth graders to learn anything, except to brainwash the heck out of them.
That's what it is. And see, when I hear stories like that, this is why I don't want my son to be involved at all in any kind of public school, because how do we know, like, if we're not talking to our kids too, we don't know what's being taught to them. And a lot of these teachers, they seem like snakes, like they're part of the system. And like you said, they're there to just collect a paycheck, a lot of them, right?
I think most are, and I don't judge people because I don't have kids and I don't have a wife, and it's easier to shoot your mouth off when you're a bachelor, I think.
Yeah, right.
Because really, if I had a wife and kids, would I have gone that route? Probably not. No, I would have had to make sure I was holding on to my income.
Absolutely. Well, that's the cool thing, Doug. Because talking about like homeschool and stuff, I'm probably going to do that with my son. Out here in New York, you have to have certain vaccinations to even get into public schools, and I have certain views on vaccinations that some people don't like, but it is what it is.
I'm with you.
I do not want to. Since my son was born, we were on top of what was injected into his system, and we only got, I think he got 1 or 2 shots that he had to get, and there was about 5 or 6 that we rejected, and I couldn't believe how much crap they wanted to inject into my son. But the fact that New York will force you to get these vaccinations to go to public school is a huge turnoff for me. And,
poison your kid or you can't come to school?
You're talking about Nazi Germany here. It's crazy.
Q has told us over and over to think logically.
Right.
And I think the deep state wants us to be emotional. And so, like coronavirus, you and I can stand back and we can see what the media is doing, and we can be logical and say, I don't feel threatened. If we get emotional and watch the news, we're going to lose it.
Well, yeah, you've seen the stock markets. They're up and down every single day now.
Yeah, and I think the most powerful of the logical fallacies is the bandwagon appeal, which we would call peer pressure.
Correct.
I hate, it's a sad thing to admit about human beings, but most people will give in to the mob. If 9 out of 10 people are saying something is true, I just think the majority of people want to feel safe and they want to fit in. And this leads to horrifying consequences. Joe Biden's running for president, but, do we need to go look at Creepy Joe videos? How the hell do people support a man who... Come on, we were just complaining about Harvey Weinstein and his behavior. If his behavior towards adults is bad, why are we accepting Joe Biden's behavior around children, around infants?
Yeah, and I've posted many videos, pictures of him kissing, his granddaughter on the. You already know. I don't have to get into it.
Crazy
it's
stuff.
Disgusting.
Crazy. And what's crazier though is how people could support that and overlook it. It's a really horrifying fact of humanity that human beings will tend to go with the crowd. But the good thing is we passed that 10% point, haven't we? The tipping point that Q talked about. And once at least 10% of the population embraces Q, the rest will follow. I think it follows most trends. If you thought of gangster rap or grunge rock or punk rock, when those trends first come out, it's a small minority that follows it, but then very soon it's mainstream.
Yes, so and I believe it is mainstream.
All of that momentum can work in our favor. If the bandwagon appeal works for the bad guys, maybe it could work for the good guys.
Absolutely, that's the one thing I love about Q2 is I don't know if you've been on Acun. You see these geniuses on these boards and what these people are capable of, and a lot of it's disinformation because anybody can post there, but a lot of it's not. And they call them the bakers. They get information out. Then people like us, we're on Twitter. We get that information and then we distribute it out. That what we think is the truth, and then we just take it from there. And we're all doing this essentially for free, which is what I love about this movement. And I just think it's extremely powerful that this has happened. And I believe this is what our country has been waiting for. This back channel movement that Trump has started with his social media. There's never probably going to be another president like him, and that's why I'm not even worried about Joe Biden. Trump's going to he's going to landslide,
and he'll be in jail by November, I hope.
That would be nice because he is being investigated by Ukraine right now for his What
if we back up to the behavior a second?
Sure.
For a second.
Sure.
If it's wrong for Harvey Weinstein to misbehave, why is it acceptable for Joe Biden to? Why are we not saying this guy is guilty of sexual harassment? Everybody in the world knows that. Why isn't he arrested for it?
Yep. Well, that's the thing. I believe there is a two-tier justice system, and that's becoming more and more apparent now.
Well, I don't want to shut up about it. I want to bring it up every chance I get.
Absolutely,
it's insanity. It's insanity.
Yeah, and Q's talked about this, and we always thought like, oh, but no, there actually is. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is very real. This is why these people don't get arrested. This is why Hillary's not in jail. This is when Trump got my vote is when he was on stage debating Hillary, and he made that comment that said if he was president in those times, she would have been in jail. When he said that moment right there, I'm like, okay, this guy's got my vote, because who else is saying these things? Who else is calling out the mainstream media? There is nobody else out here. They're all puppets.
I was disappointed to see. Did you see Trump's town hall on Fox? Was it last night or the night before?
I heard bits and pieces of it, but I didn't catch all of it.
I saw bits and pieces too, and I was really disappointed because Martha McCallum was hosting the thing. She went on Twitter and announced. She asked everybody, "What would you like me to ask President Trump?" And you know what every response was. You know the Q Army came out, right?
Yes, I was part of that. I posted as well.
And we all responded, there's only one thing to ask. And did she? No, of course not. And all I saw was a deep state tool. And Brett Baer was one of them too, and he's always been a deep state tool. They were shameful the way
it's really
on the coronavirus and
exactly. That's all they just want to keep their narratives rolling. It's funny, Doug, because you would think with all the hit pieces on QAnon that are constantly being shoved out here, the hit pieces on Trump that are out here every single day. They make fun of Q followers. They make fun of the entire movement. why wouldn't they just ask Trump and put this to bed about Q? Just put it. You could literally kill the movement in one question if he disavowed it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And it's just like I don't understand. And
the only logical solution is that President Trump is Q plus, right? It's the only logical.
Right.
Conclusion.
Exactly. So and I did hear from the from other people that talked to me that Fox aired. I don't know if you've heard of this movie called The Hunt. Have you heard of this movie?
Oh, was that where they're hunting Trump supporters or something? Or?
They're hunting.
They're hunting people, aren't they?
Right. It's liberal. It's basically liberals hunting conservatives. They don't name them as Trump supporters, but we know it's Hollywood. We know exactly what message they're trying to send. But the very first, I think it was the very first commercial break, Fox aired that right after Trump's talking at this event, and it's like. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch any, but I know a lot of people that follow this movie. They do watch Fox. There are some.
Oh well, maybe you get 1% of truth out of Fox, right? If maybe Tucker Carlson or Jesse Waters will be bold enough to speak the truth.
Exactly, and I believe there are some good people in Fox for sure. But I don't get any of my news from any of these outlets. But it's just funny because a lot of people still do, and then you see Fox go and do something like that. It's just like, what side are you really on? That you would because this video was initially shot down. This was a story over the summer, and Hollywood got a lot of, or Universal got a lot of.
I do recall that, yeah.
They got a lot of backlash for it because they're like, how can we seriously put this out there? And I don't know what happened, but it was approved, and now it's in theaters, and we have Fox airing this.
The timing's interesting, isn't it? If it was dangerous last summer, why is it acceptable now?
Right, exactly, and there's always something behind that, which is just.
By the way, I've noticed. How do we talk about this? The scoundrels, they love to tell the world what they get up to, and they veil it in art. And I think you'll see an archetypal pattern in films. The Most Dangerous Game was made in 1932, a film based on a 1920s story, something like that, and it's about a rich man who hunts people. And we see that theme over and over in films too many times, I think, over the years. The Hunger Games, don't they have a hunting scene in it?
The Hunger Games is all about dropping people into an isolated area, and it's last one survives. That's it. They have to kill it.
Is any of this based on reality from all of the MK Ultra victims and others that I've read? Yes, it is based on reality.
Absolutely. There's soft disclosure in all these.
Evil. Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. Yeah, I think you're no fan of Steven Spielberg's, right?
No.
And, he made Schindler's List, and you recall the commandant is in the concentration camp early one morning.
Yep.
And he's up high on a balcony, and he just takes a rifle and starts picking people off. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, isn't Steven Spielberg very moral dealing with this issue? But now I don't think that. I think, is this what you get up to, Steven Spielberg? Do you do this?
Yeah. And did you hear? The news about his daughter?
Yeah,
being
his daughter,
porn.
son, whatever that poor person is.
Yeah, and he's got all these resources, and it's just it's.
Why did Q talk about adoptions? He said, why were there so many in Hollywood that were adopted? Woody Allen's Korean daughter, do they adopt so they can use it as a front for?
Yeah, I've done episodes on adoptions. That is a whole nother system of corruption. As far as Hollywood, there's probably many reasons that they do it. Like you said, they want to show that they're trying to help the world. And
well, I ask you frankly, did Steven Spielberg abuse that child? Here he is saying, "Yeah, I'm happy that my daughter is a hooker now." Well, let's go back in time. Did you harm that child? I would want to know.
Exactly. The fact that he's okay with it's just. But this is the.
I'm glad he did that because a lot of the public who wouldn't have questioned him before might get the icky feeling now and say, "Wait a minute, what's going on, Spielberg?"
Right, exactly, and these are the people that Hollywood and the media prop up as gods, essentially.
Yes.
These are the people you need to.
If somebody would have told me 20 years ago that Steven Spielberg was a bad person, I would have laughed.
Yeah, no, exactly. You would because that.
I'm Hank.
But Doug, that's the grand illusion, right? there's no way this world could be that evil. That's just that's got to be conspiracy theories. But that is the grand illusion. It really is
Yes,
this bad.
we can't believe that such depravity exists.
But it absolutely does. So, I mean, it's just the world's crazy. But I don't have a negative view on the world anymore because when Obama and the Bush, I felt like there was a cloud that was over this country ever since 9/11 happened.
Oh, boy, that's an understatement.
Many of my friends went to war. Pretty much, I appreciate the veterans, but I talk to veterans sometimes, and I say a lot of these wars were for nothing. They were huge distractions, part of the plan. They were part of this gigantic plan of corruption, but yet we have Trump here. He's ending the endless wars. But I just remember growing up in those times when Obama got reelected. It was I just felt like there was a dark cloud over this country, and I didn't. If I just read something today that if Hillary had won, there would have been military intervention, tribunals. It would have been chaos. It would have gotten bloody. But that's where things could have gone if Hillary had won the election and Trump had lost.
Yeah, praise God for the incomparable United States military we're in the middle of World War III, and we're safe.
We
have nothing to worry about.
No, and that's why you keep saying the silent war continues, and there is a war going on behind the scenes, and channels like ours and the many others out there, we're reporting on what's going on to keep people involved, to let them know what's really going on. So it's crazy times. I'm just so happy to be alive during this time period. I believe this is a pivotal, hugely pivotal moment in our country's history. And that's why I wanted to say to you too, Doug, because I want to homeschool my kid. I want to show my child about Q, and I've been eviscerated online for saying things like this. Absolutely eviscerated by liberals, saying that kid's going to end up being institutionalized if you teach him this stuff. Like I don't have to tell you how nasty people can get. But channels. Oh
my gosh! Is it Paul Krugman? What is that guy's name at the New York Times? Who's been very vocal.
Yes.
And he said anybody who wouldn't vaccinate their kid needs to be murdered or...
Yeah, just terrible. Yeah, it's right along those lines as far as disgusting comments. But your channels, another main reason why I started my channel is I wanted to record history. And I want to maybe show my son one day. And as far as you too, though,
do you think that when you're making your shows, do you think, what will my child think of this in 10 years?
Yes, that was a huge motivation for me to start this channel, because it's not even just my content. I would show my son, like, if I homeschool my kid, I want QAnon to be part of his history lesson, and I'll use your videos. Someone like yourself, use your videos to maybe do a school lesson on things like this.
Right now I'm just doing like video essays because I thought it would be a genuine thing to do, because I don't feel like an expert on Q. But
right.
What if we did break it down so simply that I don't know, what do you think would be the earliest age where somebody can really grasp?
I'd probably say maybe 7, 8.
Yeah, I think middle schoolers can get the essentials, right? And then
right.
As they get older, maybe they can get into the other stuff. But
absolutely.
I think we can speak vaguely, and we don't have to say everything that Epstein and Weinstein were up to. But
right, yeah, you don't. Yeah, exactly. You can go deeper as they get older, which I have no problem with. But that's why I think it's important. Like our channel is, I want to use this content to get out to younger people, and especially my own kid, and teach them this movement was very real, and we were all part of this. And hopefully, when the dust settles, the swamp is cleared out, our country is back on the right path. I want to show.
I think we are on the right path.
Yes.
Everybody's not with us, but they will be. They have to. They have to join us, or they will crack up.
They'll fall the wayside.
You and I are on the right path.
We are, and that's why I keep telling people, because the most comments I get on my videos are, we've been told this before, nothing is happening. And when I hear people say nothing is happening, I want to rip my hair out. I want to rip my hair out, because people don't understand the indoctrination's been going on for I don't know how many years, and Trump's only been in office, this is his 4th year. These things take time to establish, and they cannot mess this plan up. They can't mess it up. And they can't.
I'm pretty impressed with how quickly things are moving globally.
Yeah, Yeah, with North
In the
Korea.
Vatican, London, Brussels, the whole world, China. Who knows what Trump is up to with China?
I believe he is trying to disconnect as many connections to China as possible. I believe
Really?
when he went to India and
Yeah.
with Brexit, I think he is trying to set up new economic alliances and
Yeah.
shift our manufacturing mostly back to our country, but also have a non-communist state like India to be, a major player instead of China, because this whole global network, this whole global movement, it needs to die because this is what's killing us. And I believe
I
Trump.
saw it in California growing up. California, I grew up near the city of industry, and it was factory after factory after factory, and
Exactly.
it employed the majority of blue-collar people and gave people a good life, and then all those jobs went to China
Exactly.
in the late 80s, and California's a mess now.
It was a slow bleeding of our country, and Obama just, he that was their 16-year plan. Get Obama in there, and then it was Hillary to give us the final death blow. That because I'm pretty sure if she had won and there was no military tribunals, we would have been in war with Russia, Iran. Who else knows? North Korea. You know,
Yes.
who else
And you
knows?
and I would not be talking right now. There's
No,
no way. And you would
absolutely
not
not.
have a YouTube channel.
Absolutely not. None of this would probably be happening right now. So it's just it encourage. I'm trying to encourage people. These things take time. Trump knows what he's doing. He is fully protected by the military. I tell people all the time, you guys gotta stop worrying about the coronavirus. You just gotta let things play out. Everything's under control. Q says they have. When Q says they have it all, that puts me at ease right there.
Very comforting.
Very comforting. So we've never had this before, but now here we are. Here we are. So
Well, every day of my life, every hour of my life, I thank God for this miracle.
every you have to, you have to, absolutely. And
It's nothing but short of a miracle if you think of the power that they had. And
no, and
I'm thinking of it from a religious standpoint. I mean, I think it's a spiritual battle. Q has said the satanic cult runs the world, and I
yes,
think the deep state got into Christians' minds and convinced them that there was nothing that they could do, that they just had to be these passive panty waste until
right,
God takes them home. And that's not the case. Jesus never told us to act like that. He told us to speak to the mountain. He told us to be angry and sin not, to deal with these people.
exactly.
And we didn't. And for years we had political leaders who spoke curses over us, and we weren't dealing with the devils, and we suffered. I mean, if you want to know what it's like living under the devil's thumb, go back to the Obama years.
That's
The only explanation was the devil, Satan was in the White House.
That's what I was saying. Like that's what I was saying. Like as far as the energy and this dark cloud just loomed over us, and that's the other thing I don't think people really get. This is spiritual warfare going on. There are even if you don't believe in it, these evil people do, and they do these things with a massive amount of people. Like they have these satanic rituals. That energy is put out into the world. And it's evil versus good. And again, if people don't believe this stuff is real, it's not happening, but it really is, and it plays a huge part. And there's much more than the physical that's going on that Trump is going up against. That's what I don't think people realize.
Well, when you really look at some of the behavior, I don't know. There's a video on YouTube of John Podesta, Skippy, you think you're hot shit, don't you? Do you know this video? And
Yep.
it's a comment ping pong, obviously. One can prove that.
Yep.
And it sounds like John Podesta is, it's the most horrifying sound I've ever heard in my life, is harming a child there.
Yeah.
Adrenalizing, I don't know what he's up to, but there's no explanation for it. If a psychologist wants to come up and tell me he's got a chemical imbalance or something, that's just not going to suffice.
No.
They're talking about pure evil here. It's somebody who will not respond to the
No.
horrific cries of a child.
And that I've seen now. I didn't come across that video till after I had my son, and I had to turn it off immediately because
No, you can't listen to it.
you can't. It's
No.
so evil, and this is going higher than just this is I can't even put it into words. it's just throwing humanity out the window. And the thing about the Podestas, the WikiLeaks email, there was also an email found from Tony Podesta, John Podesta's brother, inviting him to a spirit cooking session.
Oh yeah, lots of spirit cooking and the fast food and the hot dogs and the
right, all their code words they love to use. All going back to children.
Let's have a trial and let's have them explain what they were talking about. What do you mean by pizza? What do you mean by hot dogs? What did Obama bring $65,000 worth of hot dogs to the White House?
Right, exactly. These aren't just coincidences, not by any means. So, but yeah, if there's anything else you wanted to talk about, we can wrap this up soon. I told my wife I'd probably be about an hour, so we're coming up close, and I gotta watch my kid. But I'm really happy to get you on here and just have a conversation with somebody that's like-minded, that has great intentions. You're making these amazing videos, and like I told you, at some point when my son gets old enough, I'll be using channels like yours to show my son this is the true history. This is what was really going on.
I too, when I'm making these, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of winging it, but doing Qniversity videos. I'm thinking of posterity. I'm thinking, what will it look like a year from now? What will it look like 5 years from now?
Yeah, and that's exactly how you have to. Because the thing is, too, these big tech platforms are suppressing us. It's on Twitter, it's YouTube.
But I do feel confident, don't you? Just the very fact that we're getting away with some of the, we couldn't have said the things that we're saying now on Twitter and YouTube 10 years ago, 5 years ago. There was no way. No one would listen to you.
Well,
not only that, you'd be harassed. You would find people following you. You would find. I was harassed quite a bit during the Obama years, and
I'm sure
that's not happening anymore. If people want to say, give us proof that something's happening, I'd say go on Twitter and look at what people can say today. I can go on Tom Hanks' Instagram, and I can say, what the heck's going on, dude?
Oh, man, yeah.
I can talk straight to Tom Hanks, and I can talk straight to Steven Spielberg, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Nope. Yeah, no, it's that's what times have changed, and it's for the better. But no, like you said, the things that are allowed on Twitter and YouTube, and then they take videos. I've gotten some videos taken down. I mean, you got people doing drugs on camera, but I can't talk about what's going on in the news. You know, it's completely ass backwards.
But did they give you a strike or something on YouTube?
They used to. Lately, they just I'll go on and my video is just gone. It's just disappeared. No email, no nothing. That's only happened to me once. My channel's been pretty good with not getting strikes. I know not to speak certain words that trigger their algorithms. So doing this for over a year, about a year now, you kind of pick up on what words will get your videos taken down. So most of my videos are limited ad revenue. I barely make any money on my videos. That's because they label them as videos that most advertisers will not put ads on, which I'm totally okay with. This was not originally to make money. This was originally to just, I wanted to get behind a microphone and tell people what I thought. That's all it was.
As you bring up money, I've been poor for many years as an adjunct, and I don't know. I don't need much to live by. I have dogs, and I'm a bachelor, and so I'm good. I've always enjoyed teaching, and I wish I would have gotten the gravy tenure-track position, but then again, if I had it, I might not have spoken up.
Right.
So after I got fired, the state of Arizona was very unfair to me about the unemployment, et cetera. I talked to the state attorney general. They were unfair. And just for Christmas, I was broke, and I was very worried, and I publicly lamented on Twitter about my situation, and I just stayed away from Twitter for a couple of days, and then a beautiful Anon from Virginia had started a GoFundMe. And,
I remember this. Yep.
Yeah, and very quickly, it filled up, and I was just, boy.
Probably blown away, right?
And so JoeM said to me, why don't you do something to repay? Why don't you return the favor? And he suggested the name Qniversity, and why don't you start making videos? And I thought, okay, I'll do that. And that's where I am today. It's just because patriots, Anons were supportive. And
it's amazing how God works, right? You getting fired from your job was actually a blessing in disguise. Isn't that crazy?
Huge blessing, brother.
It's amazing how that works, right?
God will take anything bad and turn it to good.
That's it, and that's the way you got to view the world. It's just the support. That is the one thing I must say about this community that we're in. The way the mainstream media paints us as, radicals, violent murderers.
But they won't ever address Antifa or some other violent group, right?
Nothing, but there has been nothing but support and love from communities.
Only love.
When I go on my live streams, the amount of people that donate and just want to give and just support the movement, it really blows my mind. And it's
from
not,
all over the world, right?
All over the world. I got people from Scotland, Japan. It's just the movement is worldwide, and that's why it's just so important. But I'm so glad.
Isn't that funny? We hate globalism, and yet we love this globalist patriotic movement.
It's funny, right?
Globalist.
It's
but
funny.
Is global. It is worldwide.
Right. When people call Q the cult, I just say, well, this is the best cult I've ever been in. So it's like...
Yeah, and if we want to talk about cults, can we start talking about the witches in Hollywood?
Oh, yeah.
Start talking about Nexium with 15,000 elite members. I want to know who those people are.
It's unbelievable, and that's the thing. Harvey Weinstein went down, and I reported 2 days ago that he's still in the hospital because he knows. So just to give you some background on what I do, Doug, I do vending machines. I have vending machine route. I take care of coffee machines, food machines, into Supermax state prisons. So I'm in two state prisons 6 days a week. I'm in that environment. It's a toxic environment. And being spiritual, as soon as you walk in there, you can feel the shadows.
Yeah,
it's really bad, but. Being around inmates and people like that, knowing somebody that of Harvey Weinstein's stature, of where he was in Hollywood, he will not survive prison.
You don't think so?
Unless he's completely isolated. There's no way. And even so, there's going to be authorities putting pressure on him to talk. And it's going to be the same exact thing that happened with Epstein. We all know Epstein didn't kill himself. And
that's right.
It's going to be the same thing with him. He's either going to crack or he's going to die before he opens his mouth. And it's really sad. I saw Nicki Minaj's brother. I don't know if you heard him. He raped a child. Nicki Minaj is this huge entertainer. She's a singer, rapper. Nicki Minaj's brother ended up in one of the visiting rooms where I service some of my machines. And seeing someone like him, he probably. One of the CEOs said that if anything were to happen to him, another inmate attack, they'd look the other way. So these are just to give you some insight of where these people end up. They probably won't survive long. So who knows?
Well, Q told us it won't be safe for them to walk down the street, so maybe they should worry about grandmothers and uncles rather than inmates.
Yeah, it's really scary. So we'll have to see what happens, and it's just gonna this year I think is the most pivotal year. Once Trump gets his re-election, he's gonna be able to really dig in deep and get this embedded evil out of this country for good. And we'll just have to see where it goes. And I've even asked people, I'm like, I wonder what will happen when Trump, if and when, I believe he's going to landslide, but you never know nowadays. Trump gets another re-election, gets in for another 4 years. After that 4 years, what's going to happen with Q? Does Q disappear?
Maybe Q won't really be necessary at some point.
And that's
exactly. We'll all become Q.
Right, and that's exactly where I was going with this. Are we really going to need Q by then? We're doing it now. We're doing what Q has taught us, and Q has posted saying you are ready, Anons, prepare for the storm. They were preparing us those first few years to get us learning what they really wanted to get across to us, to think for ourselves. And they always say an awakened public is what the enemy fears the most.
Oh yeah.
So
I wonder if that's the keystone. When Q always talks about a keystone. I was wondering if the people weren't the keystone. An awakened populace.
Right. Is that the keystone?
We are where the foundation of a strong republic is an aware, active.
Right. And I'm glad you said republic, because people don't get that. We were a republic. We are not a republic anymore. But in our glory days, we were a republic. But now we're a democratic society. But you know that's can be another conversation for another day. But listen,
well, we still have the law on our side, and we'll use
do.
the law. We have to use the law. I keep thinking about this insanity that occurs with children and drag queens, and I'd like to see somebody arrested. I don't understand why it's accepted.
Yeah, that's the thing. When it comes to the children, I can't stand for it. It's just it's too much. We see what's going on when it comes to the children. When I saw that drag queen video, I wanted to jump through the screen and choke that guy, and smack everyone in the face that was in there cheering, especially the guys.
But what if somebody did a citizen arrest and say, this is illegal, I'm going to hold you here and I'm calling the cops? And
right, what would happen? They depends what state you're in, because I bet you if that was California.
We have to get past this Stockholm syndrome. I don't know what the heck to call it, but we've got to stop treating the rapist well and treating the victim poorly. It's a perversion of everything that is right, and we see it everywhere. I mean, that little girl doesn't have rights, but the drag queen does.
Right, and it's funny that you said that, because even when I'm inside the prisons, the prisoners get better treatment than the actual COs do in New York State.
Wow. So what insanity.
They can't call inmates. They have to. I forgot what word it is. It's some kind of. I don't even know. I can't remember the name of it, but it's some kind of cherry-coated word that won't offend people. And if they say it, they can actually get fired in a review. If they take anyone down violently, every little thing's investigated, and it's more investigative on the CO than the actual inmate. The world, especially
this even exists in prisons. I mean, the same insanity that exists in preschools exists in prisons.
It's everywhere, Doug. It's absolutely everywhere, and it's tough because I don't go around. I don't talk about what I do at work. Some people that there's only a few that know what I do, but it's not like I go around talking about it because of fear of losing a job, and that's just the reality of it. You talk about any of this stuff. It goes up to corporate. They're like, well, we don't like that political opinion. We'll find something, and we'll slowly get rid of them. That's just
Brother, I don't want to harp on the icky stuff, but when I saw Joe Biden groping every senator's daughter and wife when he was swearing them in just a few years ago,
yep.
This is the apex to me. We go into schools and we tell kids they have bubble space, and we talk about the constitutional rights and blah, 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 and then there it is in front of the whole world. We say, no, none of that matters. You don't have a constitutional right to be left alone.
Right. It's
very infuriating.
It's insane, but that's what's being normalized now.
Well, it's not going to be accepted, and we can't accept it. Every time it comes up, we have to speak against it.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do here. It's only a matter of time before things that really start changing. They are changing already.
I think so.
I see it every day. I was just in the grocery store a couple weeks ago, and I saw a random person wearing, it said woke, but instead of an O, it was a Q. And I gave him a head nod, and he said, "You know Q?" And I said, "I know Q." We shook hands and we walked away. That was and I don't see, that was the only person I've seen here, but I've red-pilled my barber here locally, and it's funny what he does. If you go on my Twitter, you can actually see it. While he's cutting his customer's hair, he plays my videos. He plays a bunch of videos, but he plays JoeM's Plan to Save the World on repeat while he's cutting people's hair, and people are watching it, and they're asking questions. He's my co-host I do live streams with on Sundays. He's called the Effin' Doctor, and he plays these JoeM videos while he's cutting hair, and people are getting red-pilled while they're getting a haircut. I'm like, how perfect is that? It's a perfect system.
Yeah, there's something deeply psychological about getting a haircut. You talk about some deep issues often, and it's a great thing to do. Exactly.
I've always had that experience in a barbershop. I've known this guy. He's been a friend of mine for years. But even so, when you go and get a haircut, you have conversations. Talk about the world, and it's just a perfect avenue to do it. But
sure is. I walked in the supermarket a couple days ago, and a woman walked up to me and said, "You're Qniversity."
Oh, wow.
And we started talking, and
Isn't that cool, though? I'm sure you felt fantastic to hear somebody actually.
I thought it was miraculous, Scott. I thought,
Yeah.
I just thought, thank God. I thought, this is truly miraculous. Why is this happening?
But you see, though, you're reaching out to people, you're touching people, and they're noticing. And what a great feeling to have that.
Yeah, and it was just up the street from the college from which I was fired. So God works in very mysterious ways.
He does, but it's all for good, and we're gonna come out on top. We're gonna come out on top of this for sure.
Amen.
All right, Doug. Well, I appreciate, my friend, that we had the time to just have a conversation, talk about Q, talk about your university. I'm going again to link everything in the description as far as your YouTube channel, your Twitter, all that stuff to get more eyes onto it, because I think it's important that your work gets out to more eyes, especially out here in New York. It is a absolute battleground here. If you're red,
There is.
it's you are pretty much, you don't get an opinion. You shouldn't be talking about anything. And
By the way, do you think that Little Mike is in any way a reference to Big Mike? Have you seen this idea floating around?
No.
Well, Trump kept calling Bloomberg Little Mike, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people on Twitter were posting memes about Big Mike, and I don't think I need to tell you who that is.
Right. No, I didn't see this.
Yeah, it's astonishing if you want to see how people can go into denial. All the people that still think Michelle Obama is a beautiful woman.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I've seen these plans supposedly that they're going to make a run. But it's
Well, what do you think Q has up his sleeve? I mean,
Right,
really,
exactly.
Hillary or Michelle are going to run, and then he tells the whole world the truth.
right. He's just gonna drop. I call the Trump card. He's gonna pull out the Trump card and just eviscerate all of them and put them all in their place for once and for all. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. These next few months, all the way up until November, are gonna be pivotal, and we just have to keep doing our work and to inform.
Thank
people.
God we're alive, right? This is maybe the most exciting year in history.
I really believe it. I really believe it. So again, Doug, I appreciate you, my friend. It was nice to actually talk to you, to hear from you, because like I said, when I first started doing videos, you were one of my first stories because JoeM got it out there, and it was just cool seeing a teacher try to teach his students about Q, and just the onslaught of attacks you got it was more than enough to get my attention, and to actually be talking to you months later is it's really cool, and I'm glad to have spoken to you and have you on in future shows for sure.
I'm very happy to talk to you too, Scott.
Awesome. Well, Doug, I appreciate it again, my friend. We'll probably just end the stream. I'll end the recording here. But thanks again, guys, for watching this. Thank you, everybody out in the podcast. Again, go give Mr. Belmore here. Give his channel a subscribe. Like all of his videos. He's doing God's work, and he's killing it. He's up to 20,000 subs already. You're on your way, sir. And there is a whole entire Patriot family that is behind you. And again, thank you. I'm glad you were on the show.
Thank you, Scott.
No problem, Doug. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.